Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host at World of Tanks Blitz, and in today's video we'll be taking a look at the newest event that has been added into World of Tanks Blitz, which gives you the opportunity to get your hands on a free K-2, a Tier 8 collector Soviet heavy tank. I actually think that this is really nice for wargaming. This is a decent vehicle, and the fact that you can earn it for absolutely free by just grinding the game every couple of days is honestly pretty good. So I'll be letting you know how to get your hands on the K-2. I'm also going to be talking about the Caro 45-ton, which is at stage 50. If any of you thought Wargaming was going to give you the chance to get the Caro for free, that was obviously not going to be the case, as I broke into on my previous video. Wargaming is never going to give you a free tier 10 in a grinding event. To get your hands on the Caro, you're going to have to spend $20, and you're going to have to do a little bit of cheesing. You see, you can purchase the Crafting Kit Pro for $42, and you will guaranteed get the Caro. But we can actually get it for $22 if we're a bit smarter. See, the normal crafting kit is $11.99, and it allows you to basically grind to around stage 40. But if you have a friend gift you the crafting kit, which is giftable, you can also get an additional 10 stages, which means that for $20 you can get your hands on the Carro 45-ton, but you will need somebody to gift you a crafting kit so that way you can get the 10 last unlocked stages. It's cheaper than spending around 8,000 gold to do so. So that's kind of how I see it. It's actually pretty inexpensive to get your hands on a Caro if you do this method, but obviously that is down to you and if you have friends willing to get you the crafting kit. We're not really going to be focusing on the Caro today. I probably will talk about that vehicle later, but I think today we are mostly going to be focusing on the K-2, as this is the main reward that obviously everybody is going to be focusing on. Getting your hands on the K-2 is honestly pretty easy. It's at stage 14 on the event, which requires you to grind 12,600 of these picture frames. As we can see on stage 1, you get 7 picture frame boosters, and each one of these boosters gives you a guaranteed 500. And then you also get another 3 of these boosters at stage 8, which needs you 6,600. So essentially, you're going to get a guaranteed 10 of these little picture boosters, and these are going to give you 5,000 pictures guaranteed, which is already going to take away almost half of the grind for the K2. You're going to have to grind an additional 7,000 at this point. Now, judging that your daily missions allow you to claim a pretty decent chunk, around 1,000 each day, then it's only going to take you, on average, about 7 days of doing daily missions to get your hands on the K2. Honestly, that's pretty basic stuff. So just log into Blitz once a day, do a couple games, complete your daily missions, and congratulations, you have your hands on a free Soviet heavy. It doesn't require you to do good on damage. It doesn't require you to do anything really spectacularly hard. So I don't want to hear any complaining about this event being too grindy when Wargaming is giving away a free tier 8 at the end of the day. In today's video, I'll be breaking into the statistics of this Tier 8 Soviet Heavy, the armor profile, and just about everything you're going to want to know about this tank, and my overall opinions and feelings about it after we get into some live gameplay. We're going to start off briefly taking a look at the stats, and yeah, I'm going to be honest, this tank doesn't appear like it's changed at all since I tested it, and that's rather unfortunate because this was not the most exciting vehicle in test. It wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't anything amazing either. So let's see what we got going for us. 5.6 seconds of aiming time. Yeah, pretty bad. Dispersion at 100 meters looks good until you realize I am running refined gun, so it's still pretty bad. Damage per minute, pretty mediocre at only around 1,780. To be fair, I am running calibrated, but still, it's definitely on the lower end for 400 alphas when it comes to the DPM. Average penetration, though, is really good. 248 on the standard and a whopping 313 mils on the heat. You are not going to struggle to kind of just cut through anything. That's ridiculously high gold pen. The gun depression is also decent, 7 degrees. That's going to allow this tank to be flexible on ridge lines, which is very rare for Soviet heavies in general. I think this is the first Soviet heavy, apart from the IS-2SH, I guess, that features decent gun depression at tier 8. When we make our way to the engine, it's not very mobile, reaches a top speed of 32 and a reverse of 13. Yeah, that reverse speed is really bad, and you're going to feel it when you're driving this vehicle in general. So making our way over to the armor profile, we can kind of get an idea of what we're working with here. And it's good and bad. Like on flat ground, the middle upper plate is about 260, which is decent. I mean, if you're using gun depression, we can see that you can actually get really good bounces. Even loading calibrated shells and heat, that upper plate's about 370. It's actually really strong with gun depression. The problem is, on flat ground, if you try angling or side scraping the tank, this is what your armor is looking like. And that's pretty bad. It's because these corner cutouts here are awful. They're only about 218 thick and everything cuts through you. And this is not like the World of Tanks PC K-2 where the side armor is pretty good. In fact, the side armor is pretty bad. If you shoot it right in the front track wheel and it's even slightly angled like this, it's only about 200 millimeters effective and you're going to pen it every time. Now the sides aren't too bad because you got this little ricochet on the lower, the lower half here. But, I mean, let's be honest. This is not very good armor for the most part, and I just don't think you're going to be getting many bounces. The flat sides are decently thick. They're about, 140 because of the spaced armor. But unfortunately, the lower half of the vehicle is not like that. The rear, pretty decent. It's about 80 millimeters of effective armor. Even the rear of the turret's about 80. So it's going to be quite hard to penetrate with high explosive shells unless you're running a 150. The only other weakness I thought I would mention is that the roof is rather weak. You got hatches all over. You got one hatch here, one hatch over here. And these are pretty easy to overmatch. But as we can see, they're not as large as you would think. They kind of remind me of the hatch that something like an Object 777 has, where you can hit them, but they're also going to be rather hard to see. The turret cheeks are about 240 thick. You can pen them, but at the same time, going to be rather tricky to do so. So we've kind of gone over the armor, and we can see the armor's good, but it's definitely nothing crazy. It's really strong when you're using gun depression, but the corner cutouts, especially when you're trying to side scrape, are going to be really, really poor. And when you pair that with rather lackluster mobility and a Soviet-style gun, yeah, you can see why I said this was a rather mediocre tank in the fun department. Now, the tank looks solid. I mean, I got no complaints there. Soviet heavies are usually quite strong. They just usually aren't that fun. The WZ-112-2 is actually in stores right now as we're talking about this tank. And the problem is the 112-2 is kind of just a better version of the vehicle. I mean, at least that's kind of my opinion on it. But you can purchase a 112-2 if you scroll down to the tank's offers for about 7,500 gold, which is pretty inexpensive. But obviously, you can get your hands on the K-2 for free. And even if you don't like the tank, you can sell it. So even if you do want to complain about the K-2 not being that exciting, at the end of the day, it's free. Wargaming didn't have to give you it, so I really wouldn't complain at all, especially because they also just gave away a free Stritzpon 81 and a free Blasteroid. They've literally given away 2 Tier 8 premiums in the last month, which is really generous, so I don't think there's much to complain about. So here we are in our first game, and, well, let's see what we can do. I just realized that my face cam has been off for quite a while, but no problem. We can put that back on. Interestingly enough, Desert Sands makes my face look very, very... I don't even know what to say. It's almost like it's like a metallic color. But let's full speed here, see what we can do. Up against us, we have an AMX M449, an M7 Yo, a Black Prince, and an Annihilator. Okay. Well, we can see here the mobility of this vehicle. It's not the fastest. We're at about 30-ish kilometers per hour. And our top is 32, so yeah, you're not going to be expecting much, and yeah, that's the accuracy there. It's classic Soviet heavy. You are not going to be, you're not going to be hitting too many shots unless you literally fully aim in. Now, thankfully, with refined gun, this vehicle is rather decent, I guess, with .3 base, so not too bad there. Let's see, we got the Annihilator, we got the Black Prince over here. I'm just going to have our adrenaline on. We're going to angle up against this Black Prince, although might just be better off to poke this. There you go. The lower plate is obviously pretty weak. Same for the corner cutout, as that's probably where the Black Prince ended up hitting me. But I'm not too worried. We're just going to get into a side scrape. This is where Soviet heavies are usually really, really strong, obviously, is side scraping. And there you go. We get a bounce from the Black Prince. The Annihilator is going to poke. There you go. Nice bounces from the Annihilator as well. We have teammates holding behind us, which is really good. And even though the DPM on this vehicle isn't anything amazing, it should still be fine for the majority of situations you're in, which is obviously quite good. We're going to get an HE cell for 508 into the enemy Borsig. Just like that, we are already up to 1,700 damage. Not too bad at all. We're going to back up. I'm just going to keep on wiggling our tank here as much as I can so I can get Possibly another shell into the enemy Borsig. There he is. And, well, yeah, we can see that the armor again on this vehicle. Borsig just goes right through our corner cutout. That's kind of the problem. You're side scraping in a vehicle that also has kind of Sussler side armor. It is a bit tricky to actually get a proper side scrape out because of the way Wargaming kind of designed the angles. But if you use the hull more and you focus it more like this, you'll usually be better off than if you show the corners. That's kind of what I've seen with this tank. So we have the AMX. We're going to get a free 350 damage shot into his tank. This is actually a surprisingly solid game. We've dealt around 2,800 damage at this point. We got the enemy T-49 in the back, and I'm going to aim it on his tank. Ah, unfortunate. The Annihilator was able to absolutely chunk his HP off. But I think that first game was already a decent example of the armor and the gun. The gun is not good. It's a Soviet heavy. If you're expecting this gun to be anything out of the ordinary, it's not. But the armor is alright. I mean, especially against lower tier players, they're really going to struggle to pen you. Anything that has high pen, though, is obviously going to cut right through. We not only did 2,700 damage, but we also netted 73,000 credits, which is pretty decent. I don't think we needed to load a single gold shell that game. We're also not running credit boosters at all, but we do have premium account on. But that's a decent amount of credits, especially for only getting a second class. Alright, let's do one more game, and let's see how the K-2 performs. Alright, another decent matchup with Tier 7s and Tier 8s up against us. What I should say is that, if any of you are wondering how this vehicle is going to perform against Tier 9s, I can tell you, pretty poor. It's not very fast, its reverse speed is absolutely awful, and its armor, while decent, is definitely nothing amazing. So when you pair all these things together, yeah, the K-2, it's probably not going to do great against Tier 9s. They're going to penetrate your upper plate like it doesn't really exist, and I would mainly try to focus on using your gun depression and turret armor at that point. And I find it crazy that we have 2 Smashers and a T-26E5. We're up against worse Tier 8 heavies, and yet our team is driving to medium flank. Why? Why are you guys doing this? I don't understand it. Teams, they make no sense sometimes, and this is definitely one of those situations. We're giving up the heavy flank for literally no reason when we could have easily won it. But, oh well, let's put our worse positions over here. Oh well. Nothing to say but be happy. Let's see. We got the Emil 1951, and, well, this is the problem with the K-2 here, is that it's a very inaccurate vehicle. You got to give it a lot of time to aim in with that 5.6 seconds of aiming time. But I'd rather have this vehicle aim in rather than just not have the ability to have decent dispersion at all. We got the Skoda T-45, and I've got his lower plate exposed, but he just drives out in the open a bit, so we get a decent shot into his vehicle, and we bleed him out for at least a little bit. The 122 bounces me. We got the IS-2 in front, and I'm not too worried about that. I'm just going to push him. Honestly, my team's annoying me, so I'm just going to drive out. We're going to angle the hull, and, well, a good example of the armor of the K-2. Lower plate, pretty weak. You will definitely get pinned in that lower plate. Let's try and angle it out a bit. Yeah, and that went right through my spaced armor. No troubles whatsoever. So, yeah, armor-wise, I can definitely tell you, don't expect bounces. Like, it's just not very good. It's alright, but it's definitely nothing amazing, which is a little lackluster, I will tell you that for a fact. Alright, well, surprisingly, we actually got a bounce on the side of our turret, but not on the front of our hull. I do find that actually rather funny. So, let's reload here. We got the Su-100M1. Now, this is where the armor should actually be rather effective, because, as I said, it's got that classic Soviet turret. This is where the armor is pretty good, is using that turret armor, you can expect bounces. This is why I think the 7 degrees on this tank is actually pretty nice, and it does allow you to be rather flexible. And as I said, that pen is also really, really good. The 248 mils of standard pen makes this actually quite comfortable at cutting through armor. Well, not much is going on, but let's finish off the Su-100M1, and we'll see if we can do anything else. We got the T-34 1776 on the wide, and I would expect him to be pushed by the rest of our team. He's probably going to butter... I was going to say he's going to butter right through my armor, and I saw red, so I was expecting him to, but he didn't. He actually fired a HE shell at my tank. Well, I don't really care about his vehicle to begin with. We're going to load a high explosive shell, and our shot's going to miss the Emil. That's really unfortunate, because that could have been an absolute juicer. Alright, well, let's reload again, and we'll see what we can do here. I'm just going to aim it on the Emil. There you go. Nice 360 damaging shot. Oh, the T-34 figured out what AP shells do. Well, either way, we're doing pretty good here. We've dealt over 3,000 damage, and we're going to reload and finish off the T-34. We assisted over 1,500 damage. We finished top on the team. So really not that much of a complaint. The K-2 it's alright. I'm not going to say it's bad because it's not. I mean, we did fine this game. We got a ace. We did 3,300 damage. We assisted 1,500. We even blocked a little bit and netted 150,000 credits. Its gun depression of 7 degrees makes it rather flexible and somewhat enjoyable when you're driving it on a ridgeline. The solid turret armor and decent hull armor do allow for bounces, but I will not lie. The poor mobility, awful reverse speed, and rather mediocre hull is definitely going to let you down in some situations when you play the tank. This is not like the World of Tanks PC K2, where you've got that ridiculous side armor, as we saw in one of these games, the 122 TM cut right through my sides. So, I got no complaints about this vehicle, but I also have no real praises about it. I think it's nice that Wargaming's giving it away for free, and the fact that you can sell it for 3,750 gold if you don't like it is actually pretty decent. So let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. I would not recommend to sell your collectors, though, because obviously in the latest changes of the game, collectors sell for 3,700 gold, but you have to buy them back for about 7,000, so it's a flat loss. Do not sell your collectors. Thank you, Wargaming, for giving us the opportunity to get free stuff. I mean, the fact that the Stritzvon 81 and the K2 are both free is absolutely insane, and it's huge. So thank you very much. As always, if you guys enjoyed today's content and you'd like to see more like it, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.